Pat Brown is just a big, strong, grizzly, horrible, talented cruiserweight that I think beats pretty much every domestic level cruiserweight now. And he's only had 2 fights. He'll fight Lewis Oakford on July 5th in Manchester, which would be a great fight. I thought T.A. was safe and on. You know, you see comments like, "Oh, the opponent was terrible." The opponent, you know, beat Ruth Huntley, Queensbury's debutant the other week. She's been the distance with a lot of former world champions. She's never been stopped. She's never really looked that hurt in fights, and she just got sparked tonight by an 18-year-old. That is very, very special. Ibrahim Suleiman was great. Giorgio Vizioli, brilliant 8 rounds for him. Aaron Bowen ready to step up, and Hamza with a great victory.
One more from me. I saw Ben sat ringside tonight. Any interesting conversations taking place?
A lot of interesting conversations, but you know, as I understand it, he's under contract, and we wouldn't interfere with that situation. If he ever become available, honestly, I think we could do some sensational things with Ben Whittaker. But until that time comes, it's a non-conversation.
Hello, tonight. I know you spoke about the Richardson Hitching situation and Keith Conley. I saw interesting tweets from Gervonta Davis, pleading this sort of loyalty for Al Haymon, his love for Al Haymon, and a lot of fighters over the years have had this sort of long-term commitment to Al and see him as like a mentor. This, like, the relationships are always very strong. Where you don't always see that in boxing. Why do you think these BBC fighters, they've always had this sort of commitment to Al? And what do you think?
Because I think some people are very good at that. You know, I think some people are very good at making you feel like this is the guy that's really, you know, my guy, and maybe he's their guy. I think Al makes a lot of investment in fighters early on, whether that be through funding, whether that be through property or wherever it's going to be, you know. And he's obviously got that trust for him. I mean, you see that with, I don't know, AJ, or, you know, those guys, Katie Taylor, you know, those elite people that really lean on, you know, me in that situation as well. Some don't quite get on or don't feel like you're the guy. But, you know, there's a lot of slippery people in the sport. I'm not referring to Al Haymon, but who make you feel like, you know, I'm your guy. You know, Al's very different. Al's actually not the guy that he's worried about and not the guy that's worried about getting in the photo or making sure he gets in the ring. He don't even go to the show. Well, he does work hard behind the scene, and I'm sure he cares for the fighters as well. So there are certain fighters that have extreme loyalty towards him, and rightfully so.
Joseph Parker, Berwick Shore 3, does that do anything for you?
Not really, no. I don't think that'll happen either.
Dave Allen, Joseph Parker, did that do more for you?
Maybe. I mean, I think look, it's going to be a tough decision for Dave, because he's trying to put himself in line for all these big fights where we've had probably 3 top 10 heavyweights discuss a fight with Dave Allen in the last 72 hours. And it was our plan to probably put him in with TKV to fight for the British heavyweight title. And that's actually a route I like, because I'd love to see Dave Allen win the British heavyweight title in Cheshire. You know what I mean? But a fight with one of those guys and making that kind of money, can't ignore.
A couple of good updates. Anthony Joshua, where are we at?
No, honestly, nowhere. Like, I mean, training camp, not ready to start, but close. No, we had a conversation the other day, and I said to him, you need to let me know when you'd be ready by, and that was end of October. But happy to fight in November or December. So we're only going to fight once this year. Nothing really, you know. Next question. Who's it going to be? I have absolutely no idea. They don't. No, it's not.
Last one. Eubank Ben rematch, the rehydration laws. Does that prove the sticking court negotiations?
No, there's no negotiation. The contracts are signed for the fight. So I don't think there is any negotiations. So all we're waiting on now is just a date from His Excellency. And obviously the football fixture, there's been a lot of conversation between us back and forth, September 20th, October 4th, etc. Could be later. But he'll make a decision on that against probably next week.
As sales I'm just from the two. Manny Pacquiao fight, and double standard.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's the funniest. I mean, imagine Mauricio Suleiman or WBC accusing me of double standards. I mean, that's hilarious. I mean, I actually wrote to Mauricio this morning because he didn't like my comments about Bivol and Beterbiev. And I actually got a little bit of those comments factually wrong. But I still felt like he was calling out a fighter, goading and giving the public information about an offer that had been made. And I don't believe that's the job of the president of the governing body. So he wrote to me asking to retract those statements, and I refused. And then I made my comments about Manny Pacquiao, and we made his comments today, and I wrote to him, I said, you have said all this about me. You called me embarrassing, a loudmouth, that's That's fight fair. I said, Michael standard and double standards. And I said, how ironic is that? You accusing me of double standards. The reality is, the reason Manny Pacquiao has been put in the rankings is because, forget that he's a legend and all that kind of stuff, because he thinks it's a big fight, it's generate a lot of money in sanction fees. That's the reality. And sometimes you'd be better off just being honest about it. If it was a legend that didn't generate any money, and there was, you know, he didn't want to, like, you just wouldn't put him in the rankings. So that's why you're supporting him. There isn't anyone that thinks that Manny Pacquiao should be automatically inserted at number 5 or whatever it was in WBC. It's ridiculous. So, but I'm going to say it. I'm not going to pussyfoot around and just say, oh yeah, it's fine. In my opinion, it's not fine. So me and Maurizio are going to get on sometimes. We're going to get on. We're not going to get on other times. This probably don't care. I don't care either.
The issue with Manny Pacquiao about the fact that he's been in the rankings. He said he was talking to him with Conor Ben.
Yeah, but that was a time, Matt, where it's well over a year ago. We got approached about Manny Pacquiao. I said, yeah, maybe it's a fight we could consider. Conor Ben, his best win at that point was Chris Algieri, right? It was not for a world title. It wasn't to do with anything in the governing body. We just got approached about that fight. And we got absolutely ridiculed. People saying to me, you're a disgrace. How can you think about putting Conor Ben in with Manny Pacquiao? Now, fast forward 18 months or whatever it is, who's now been inserted in the world rankings. And worse than that, he's fighting for a world title.
Eddie, can I just get your comments then on the Normans and basically...
Coleman who?
Brian Norman.
Oh, Brian Norman.
Yeah. And basically allude to the fact that Queens was moved up to 154 to Atlantic.
I mean, like, look, this is the reality. About straight after the Stanionis fight, we contacted Top Rank and we said, we want to do a deal for Foots to fight Brian Norman. They said, great, let's get on it. All right, we love Top Rank. They want to make big fights. They contacted the Normans and they said, oh, we're fighting in Japan. We're going to get this fight out of the way and we'll talk about it after that. I'm like, no, we need to know now, because if not, we're going to move up to 54. Oh, we're not willing to talk about fight. We offered them $1.75 million to fight Boots about 6 months ago. They said, we want $2 million. And after the Stanionis fight, we said, we'll give you $2 million. And they still didn't want to take it. So, of course, now we're moving up. Now, you know, how convenient that all of a sudden, I can't believe they've moved up. We were dying for that fight. Yeah, dying. Fight, he can go back and we'll see what's next.
Eddie, Callum Smith been rumored to fight Benavidez back into this year. You see yourself, who's worked with other promoters. What's the likelihood to see Callum and Benavidez? It's a huge fight.
Yeah, I think it's a great fight. I mean, look, Callum wants to become a 2-division world champion. For ultimately to do so, you've got to beat Benavidez or Bivol. It's not easy, but he's interim world champion. He's going to be in line for a shot at Dimitri Bivol. And there is a chance that he could fight David Benavidez from Dunlop. We're still negotiating with the PBC. So we'll see. If he doesn't do that, he'll defend his interim world title in Liverpool or in the Northwest around the same time.
Eddie, unbelievable.
I just want to ask about the heavyweight division in the US. It seems like it's an open market right now. Deontay Wilder's returning. Do you look at fighters potential like the Jermaine Franklin that could help with the like that?
I don't know. I think the heavyweight division seems to be dead in America. It's, you know, it's a shame because if America can get some quality heavyweights, I think it can really help the game.
Have it been down 4 days. I went on to training, so it's not
there's a couple of conversations today about to fight a couple of died in the top 10 like that. I'm not going to go into it too much, but it's going to be a difficult division. You know, I mean, it could be a fight with Duke Dave Allen and 6 or 7 on the weeks, and he only wanted one.
What are the chances if you see Dave Allen
that particular fight, I don't know.
Last couple of years.
Eddie, is there any...
on the towel situations that a lot of people are talking about. Do you think it should have been the towel situation?
Difficult, you know. Rob McCracken knows his fighter better than anybody. I did feel like, particularly in like from the end of the 10th, 11th, 12th, and Rob had Pacquiao in the 12th, and it was almost going, but then Galal would tie him up. And like I said, Rob McCracken knows Galal Yafai better than anyone, and I trust his decision.
Eddie, unbelievable performance in Conor Walker's.
Yeah.
I mean, who next for?
I don't know. I mean, part of me would love to see him win a Lonsdale belt outright, but, you know, obviously the aim for Conor Walker is to make him as much money as possible to lead the sport, you know, beyond his wildest expectations. So he gives us value for money every time, and I thought it was a great performance.
Echo Esserman?
Yeah, we're talking to Queensbury about that fight.
And then Tia Ayton, I mean, that's how you make a professional debut.
I mean, I was a bit worried, and I said to Matty on Friday, no more media for her, because she's been doing so much media. She's 18. And it's like, if she's not quite ready or she's not quite mature enough, she might just freeze a little bit in there tonight. And I went backstage before the fight, and she was just like calm, cool as a cucumber. And she's very, very special. You don't see girls dropping people like that, bantamweight, like very few people. The punches are really sharp and crisp, and she's 18, special fighter.
Eddie, is there any truth that Brian Norman had boots down in sparring?
About as much truth in that as me entering the Olympics in gymnastics.
Will you be looking to reschedule the Shabazz Masood fight?
Yeah, that's the plan. I mean, Shabazz said he started shadow boxing and he thinks he'll be back sort of September, October. I don't want to hold Peter up. You know, I mean, been very unlucky. The Dennis McCann fight fell through late. The Shabazz fight fell through late. And he's had those replacement opponents. He's done everything that's been asked of him. So I want to see him move on, but I would like to make that fight.
Eddie, can I get your quick thoughts on the Canelo Crawford fight? How do you expect that to go?
I go back and forwards, to be honest with you. Like, when I talk to Bud, I kind of like, he convinces me that he's going to win the fight because he's such a believer in his own ability, and he's very convincing. And then you see the presser yesterday, and I thought Canelo looked really well. Do you know what I mean? Obviously he's a big lump, so I was always Canelo. Then I sort of leant towards Bud, but now I'm back with Canelo. So we'll see.
The added incentive of the bonus for a knockout, do you think that could lead to a potential finish?
No, I don't think it means anything to him. We don't even know what it is. Last one.
Eddie, what's your prediction for Jake Paul next week?
I actually don't mind the fight. And actually Chavez has trained very hard, and mentally he's in a good place, but obviously he's very long in the tooth. But I think it'll be a competitive fight. And I think I'm going to go for the Jake Paul late stoppage. I can't believe he's